Welcome to EP Daily. Today on the show, we continue the fight against the Combine in the Rundown.
And then we go behind the scenes on the new movie based on the classic horror book series, Goosebumps.
Plus, we catch Alison Brie and Jason Sudeikis sleeping with other people.
Listen. Sam, I cheated on you.
Was it my brother?
You know I'm not attracted to your brother.
Also coming up, we find out if Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, and the Coen brothers can make movie magic together in our review of Bridge of Spies. We tell you what we think about the new biopic Steve Jobs and much more today on EP Daily. Brought to you by EB Games. I'm your host, Marissa Roberto, bringing you the latest in everything cool every single day. Grab your crowbar, because it's time for the Rundown. One of the best video games of all time might finally be getting a sequel. Or not. Game maker Valve has rekindled the hopes of fans who are desperately waiting for a new Half-Life game. Brewed in the code of a recent update to Valve's Dota 2 are what appears to be several references to the elusive Half-Life 3. No official information about the game has been released since the last installment arrived in 2007, but this isn't the first time fans have discovered references to it by digging through code. There are rumors that Valve cancelled Half-Life 3 after internal development issues, so this could just be their way of toying with everyone. We'll just have to wait and see. Valve is currently working on a virtual reality device called the HTC Vive, and their Source 2 engine is coming soon. Half-Life 3 would seem like a natural fit for both, so keep your fingers crossed.
I was getting tired of carrying this around.
It looks like microtransactions are here to stay. Bungie and Activision have added in-game microtransactions to their sci-fi shooter Destiny. Players can now use real-life money to buy an in-game currency called Silver, which can be used to buy custom items that change your character's appearance. Bungie says players will never be required to buy any of these items and promises that they'll never sell anything that actually changes the way you play. We're gonna hold them to that.
Vengeance for Crota!
That's it for the Rundown. Now look who it is to join me. It is the one and only Victor Lucas. Look, Vic, we gotta talk about money.
Yeah.
We gotta talk about money and these
Yes, we do.
microtransactions because you know I dislike them.
They are optional. Developers are starting to become a little bit more intelligent with the way that they're introducing these things, and buying your way to victory is not something that anybody really wants to do that's going to stay in the business for a long time, because the gamers swarm around that stuff.
You're right. This whole Destiny thing, though, I don't know, I feel like I'm okay with, because it is a cosmetic thing, and whoever wants to do that, that's cool. I mean, if I see you out there, though, with something swank that you have on that I know you purchased via microtransaction, I'm probably going to make fun of you. I'm probably going to make fun of you, bro.
I think it always has to be optional. You always have to have the choice not to spend in that direction. And cynically, yes, everybody is making money off this stuff, and we are always talking about the business models and the ever-changing ways that games are distributed to us. But it also costs money to invest in these assets and to bring these new kinds of projects and ideas out to people, right?
I think Activision is doing okay.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, moving right along, because I can't say the word that I want to use right now, but certain people out there are getting certain things because they're hearing about Half-Life 3.
Right.
They're getting excited about it. That's all. I'm just going to use the word excited.
Excited is all right.
It could be a thing when they release their Vive, HTC Vive.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Like, that would be the seller for Vive.
Well, absolutely,
it needs to compete with everything out there.
You're right. It would be the killer app for any VR system out there. I don't think that Valve would lock it off to just the Vive. They would say it could be VR on Oculus, you know?
That's true, but they'd want theirs to sell first.
Boy, are we speculating right now.
I know. It's kind of fun, though.
This is the thing, right? When you dig into code and you find all of these things. Also, Valve could just be having a great laugh at all of the Dota 2 players' expense right there.
Well, that's not very nice.
Well, you know, everybody wants this thing to be announced. We all want it. The unbelievable sort of power that Valve has to kind of just wait till it's ready is it's very enviable, you know? But it doesn't make it any less frustrating for fans like us, does it?
No, it doesn't. But listen, viewer beware, you're in for a scare. That was from Goosebumps. Oh, back in the day, except it was reader beware, but now there's a movie. Check it out.
Hey, we're just moving in.
You see that fence?
Yes.
Stay on your side of it.
When I first read the script, I thought it was perfect because I was opening it going, are they going to have Slappy? What are they going to do? Is it going to be based on this book or this book? And then I started to see that R.L. Stine was a character in the movie. And I go, what does this mean? Is R.L. Stine going to be in the movie? No, Jack Black's playing R.L. Stine? This is even cooler.
I could have killed you.
That was a terrible throw.
And then flipping through it, I'm like, wow, Slappy, Werewolf of Fever Swamp, The Abominable Snowman in Pasadena, all these classic creatures that I grew up reading all in one movie. I thought it was a really, really cool concept that they were doing.
All my friends in one place. I've never been so happy.
Let's face it, it's not actually a biopic. Yes, I'm playing a character named R.L. Stine who wrote all these books, but none of what happens in the movie is real. None of what happens in the movie actually happened, so I didn't feel confined to that reality. I didn't have to like mimic him. I wanted it to be the most compelling, enigmatic character that fit this particular story.
Everyone always asks me, well, they're doing a Goosebumps movie, which book are you going to use? Everyone assumes you're going to take one of the books and turn it into a movie. But instead, we used all these monsters, all the monsters from the books, and they're all there, and there I am. Very bizarre.
Nobody make a sound. I liked how unpredictable everything was, and how there's still a lot of humor in it, and it's light and there's heart, and I like the relationship between Hannah and Stein, so me and my dad in the movie, and I like the relationship between Zach and Hannah, and I thought it was so thrilling.
Shut it! Bum, 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 bum. I just remember all these things from my childhood. Goosebumps is in theaters today.
And stick around, we've got some other movies to review when we come back.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
These aren't the droids we're looking for.
Hey, I'm Randy Falk, Director of Product Development for NECA Toys, and Star Wars definitely is something that changed my life. When I was a kid, I saw it in a drive-in theater with my family, and it completely rocked my world and has really formed what I am today in going into the business of making toys and action figures. When I walked out of that movie, I just wanted to stay in that universe, and what Kenner did in the late 70s and early 80s with the action figure line allowed me to do that. The toys were such an instrumental part of my childhood and so integral to everything that I was into and a fan of, that I've been able to carry that with me all through growing up and wanting to create action figures and toys for other movies and comic books and video games. And it's all really because of Star Wars and the impression it had on me when I was about 5 years old. My favorite figure when I was a kid for Star Wars would have to be Blue Snaggletooth. It was available only in a Sears set that was like a catalog thing. When you were a kid, there wasn't the internet. You didn't know that this thing was super rare. I just knew I had a Star Wars figure that wasn't in the movie, and none of my friends had it. So I automatically was like, well, this is the coolest figure ever. Nobody I know has this thing, and I kept that thing like pristine. I still have all of my figures, and I had like a love affair with Blue Snaggletooth.
Huge fan of Randy and everything that the people at NECA Toys deliver. I've got a bunch of them in my collection.
Yeah, I know. We're all so proud of you, Victor Lucas. Yeah. You and your toys, my goodness. Moving right along, Steven Spielberg has got a new one. It's called Bridge of Spies. Here's our review.
They got our guy, our spy pilot. They got their spy. We want you to negotiate the swap.
I do enjoy a good Tom Hanks flick, so I was excited to jump into this one. It's called Bridge of Spies, especially when he's teaming up with Steven Spielberg. I feel like they're buds.
They are fantastic together, aren't they? Yes, very
really
dependable.
These are based on true stories, true events, based on Tom Hanks' character, who is a master negotiator. He is an insurance lawyer that gets pulled into defending somebody that they think was a spy working for the Soviet Union, a spy in America.
Yeah, everybody's pretty convinced that Colonel Abel is a spy for Russia, and everybody hates him, and Tom Hanks, as his defender, becomes one of the most hated people in America, and there's lots of great scenes on subways and stuff where everybody's just glaring at Tom Hanks, and he's just like, okay. You have stepped into a time machine and you are back in 1957, and then you get taken through a few years in the early 60s, but holy crap, are you transported. The budget must have been pretty large for this, because we're on the streets of New York City, and it feels like you are there. You're breathing the air, you're looking in 360 degrees, the camera's swiveling, and it's just absolutely beautifully crafted.
Not just there, but we go to Berlin as well, where the construction of the Berlin Wall is happening, and you feel the anxiety.
Yeah.
You feel, the fear. fear of just watching these people watch this wall go up, and it is terrifying. Watching this movie unfold and watching the history unfold was really intriguing, and just knowing that Tom Hanks is a huge history buff.
Yes.
Like, you know that he signs on to these things with his heart into it.
Now, Ethan and Joel Coen are co-writers on the script, and I think that's a really wonderful sort of touch in there, too. I mean, so don't go into this expecting, you know, a James Bond action set piece.
No, I was, though, because I saw Spies in the title.
Yeah.
And I thought some action was going to happen on a bridge.
Is there any outcome here where I'm not either detained or shot?
There's a thrilling plane crash that happens, and James Donovan has to kind of cross over the line and witness some really horrific stuff in East Berlin, and that was absolutely riveting to watch all of that stuff.
No, it really was. It's masterfully crafted, of course. Like,
Yeah.
these are obviously top-tier actors and directors and writers.
I think this is the time of year to release something like this. It has that sort of cold, intellectual kind of feel to it. It's definitely a fall leading up to the Oscar hype type of movie. I think there's tons of value in this, and yeah, I think it's one of the movies to see this weekend for sure. I mean, it's going up against Steve Jobs, which has a similar kind of intellectual kind of feel. What are you going to give Bridge of Spies?
It's fantastic. It's getting 8.5.
It gets a 9 from me. There's your review. The movie is out today.
You know what else is out today? Sleeping with Other People. So I guess now it's time to find out if Alison Brie and Jason Sudeikis can actually do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before I started this program, I thought love was a feeling, but that's bull.
Scott and I just got out of our date night with Sleeping with Other People that stars Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie. That feels good, buddy.
You want to get a little food, buddy? We'll get a little Chinese together?
Well, let's do this review, and then
okay.
we'll get some Chinese food together. Okay,
Love
so
you.
what did you think of Sleeping with Other People?
Well, it features two things that I miss. One is New York City, and I think New York looks great in here. A lot of neighborhoods that I recognize, a lot of streets and businesses that I recognize. And the other thing is sex. I haven't had sex in a long time. A lot of sex in this movie. Not a lot of nudity, but there's a lot of bare midriffs. There's a lot of low tops. Not a lot of man nudity.
Sex.
A lot of talk about sex. And I had a pretty good time. The movie stars Jason Sudeikis and Alison Brie as a kind of pseudo couple. They're people who become friends. They have sex at one point very early in their lives.
They both lose their virginity to each other.
That's right. And then they move on and they grow up a little bit and they meet again. And, you know, all sorts of hijinks ensue.
I'm telling her not to have sex with you.
Oh.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, you're too late because we lost our virginity to each other.
Are you serious?
You didn't know? Yeah, an incredibly smart script by writer and director Leslie Headland, who does a really, really polished job with the cast that she's got, with the language that's on display. Everybody's very erudite and very snappy. The patter is terrific all the way through this movie.
Very credible. And, you know, I think the smaller performances here really stand out as well. Amanda Peet, who's kind of the boss of the company that Jason Sudeikis is working for, and also his friend, his co-worker, Jason Mantzoukas. He's such a talent. He has such energy. You can't watch this thing and not be hungry for more of him.
There's lots of relationship turmoils on display, lots of hookups that we get to see, and some of them work, some of them don't. But every scene, I think, is pretty valuable and pretty valid, and I was really rooting for the people in this movie.
Well, listen. Sam, I cheated on you.
Was it my brother?
You know I'm not attracted to your brother.
Who is better than my brother?
There was some great heart in this movie.
Yeah, it felt very honest, and I think that's always something you're on the lookout for this kind of movie, is how honest is it going to be. And it really goes to places that feel dangerous, that feel private, and you love it, though. You feel like you're joining in the human race when you watch this kind of movie.
I would predict that this may end up being a TV series. It's got some really interesting dynamics.
Let movies be movies and TV be TV. I had much more fun than I thought I was going to have, as always, but I'm going to give this a 7.
Gets an 8 from me, and it's a terrific date movie.
I'm always curious to know if you and Jones eat popcorn together at the movies, and I just want to know if this is one of those movies that you ate popcorn for.
This was a morning screening, so no, we did not.
Oh, no popcorn in the morning.
We did not. All right, stick around. The EP Film Festival continues with our review of Steve Jobs after the break.
Musicians play their instruments. I play the orchestra.
Welcome back to EP Daily. Now, in case you haven't heard, Apple is a very, very successful company.
Oh, really? Tell me more, Mr. Lucas. I didn't know.
They made all kinds of money, and it's all due, I think, in large part to a man named Steve Jobs, and they've made another movie about him.
Musicians play their instruments. I play the orchestra.
We've already seen one Steve Jobs movie. Maybe you didn't have to, but
I didn't have to.
I saw it, and it was terrible with Ashton Kutcher. Terrible.
Oh, you poor thing.
But Aaron Sorkin, Danny Boyle, and Michael Fassbender have all stepped on stage, basically, to recreate Steve Jobs, at least in 3 very auspicious product launches in the brand new Steve Jobs movie, which is based on reference source material and kind of official source material that Steve Jobs and his family would have approved, making it to screen. And there's some pretty tough stuff in this movie.
There is some tough stuff in this movie. I loved it from the moment I saw the trailer, though. I was along for the ride. I really wanted to see this thing. I'm like, wow, Steve Jobs seems like maybe he wasn't very nice. And you're like, yeah, well, he wasn't. And it's interesting to watch this because I knew going in that maybe I thought he would be a villain, and he was for a lot of the movie, but it's that villain that you still root for, that you still want to succeed. And even though you know his story, you know it completely, you're still intrigued by this tale because it's everything going on behind the scenes of these 3 big launches.
You see how this reminds you of a friendly face? It's warm and it's playful and inviting and it needs to say hello.
Steve Jobs kind of relinquished control after he sold Apple to kind of make it a bigger company. We didn't really sell Apple. He created a much bigger company by bringing aboard John Scully, who had come from Pepsi, to turn it into a public company and a much bigger company. And he was kind of more managing the sort of creative direction of everything. And then he got ousted by the board. All of that sort of unfolds in the movie, which is very dramatic.
We see that happen. I just found it so interesting. Each time before he unveils a product, so much drama seems to unfold in his life. So we see these people confronting him, basically, before you go on stage. I can't imagine if somebody did that to me before we had to go on stage, I would lose my shit. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm already nervous enough. I gotta present this thing. I got people coming at me and getting in arguments with everybody. I'd be fired up.
Well, it just makes you kind of recognize that the life that people at that stature must live from moment to moment, because at every second, every turn, they don't know if they're gonna be facing somebody that will try to sue them or take some money from them or take time away or hurt their stock price. So no wonder a lot of these very wealthy CEOs and executives and stuff just look so starched and hampered by what they can say and how comfortable they can appear. And I think Steve Jobs was at odds with that, and I think that was part of it, is that he wanted to maintain a sense of his humanity in pursuit of this perfect product line that was going to increase the lives of everybody around him, and it was at the expense of his personal life.
It's a system error. Fix it. Fix it?
Yeah.
We're not a pit crew at Daytona. This can't be fixed in seconds.
You didn't have seconds. You had 3 weeks. The universe was created in a third of that time.
Well, someday you'll have to tell us how you did it.
It's fascinating for sure, and his products have changed the world, and the idea of computers in our pockets and computers for everybody is starting to happen, you know, for a big chunk of our planet, and it's a remarkable transformation that's occurred, much of it due to what this man and his teams have been able to do. So it's fascinating stuff.
Listen, this is a great movie. We have to score it up, though.
Yeah, I know. We could talk about this subject, this movie.
It's a good one. We'll continue on Vic's Basement for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to give it an 8.5. How about you?
Yeah, it's a 9 for me. So it turns out Steve Jobs wasn't really the nicest guy in the world.
He did everything he could to be successful.
Yeah, bye. Sell.
Yeah. And we'll be right back with an exclusive clip of Season 5's premiere of Comic Book Men.
If you want more EP, go to our website, epn.tv, for bonus content and full episodes. We're also on Facebook and Twitter.
You'll love this. He hot girls her to death.
Mister, we're trying to watch it.
Oh, hello again. It is time for Scott's Scary Halloween Movies 2015 edition. And today we're talking about all kinds of obscure horror movies. This one's not the most obscure, but I'll bet anything that you haven't seen it. It's 1988's The Blob. This script is written by our old friend Frank Darabont, who would go on to write lots of movies and direct lots of movies. We'd see him in The Green Mile. We'd see him in Shawshank Redemption. This is an early movie for Kevin Dillon, who would go on to lots of famous fame with the Entourage series, and a lady who I have a crush on now. Her name's Shawnee Smith. She plays the heroine in the movie. And of course, a meteor crashes to Earth. A blob is unleashed. The blob wreaks havoc on a small town. But I love the little details here, and I love the use of gore in this movie. I'm not a big fan of gore, but I think if it's used sparingly, it can really be shocking. And I think it's used very cleverly and very skillfully here. There are some gore moments in this that I will never forget. I think this is one of the most underrated classics of all time. Everybody confuses it with your 1958 original Blob movie. This is better. Also, I think after you see it, I'm just warning you, you're going to fall in love with Shawnee Smith. She's a tremendous force to be reckoned with. The Blob from 1988. This is your scary Halloween movie of the day.
Great stuff, Mr. Jones. Spooky stuff, indeed.
Spooky, scary Jones.
Now, normally we would have our Twitter question of the day right now, but we've got something very special instead.
Oh, is it the exclusive clip of AMC's Comic Book Man?
That's right.
Season 5?
Season 5 premieres on Sunday, and Kevin Smith and company have sent us a very cool clip featuring Chewbacca himself, Peter Mayhew. Now, remember, if you want to get caught up on EP or ask us a Twitter question, head to our website at epn.tv.
Thanks for watching.
EP would like to thank its sponsors, Nintendo, Xbox. EP's mobile coverage is brought to you by Gameloft, makers of Asphalt 8 Airborne, which you can play on your Android or iOS device for free right now.
As promised, Mr. Peter Mayhew.
Oh my gosh. Mr. Mayhew, it is an honor and a privilege to have you at the stash. I can't believe you're here to judge our Wookiee call contest.
Well, who else would you have?
I think what we can't believe is you actually did know him.
Before we start, do you think we could, ask you a couple questions?
I think I can answer most questions.
Chewbacca, actual Star Wars royalty in the store.
I couldn't even speak.
It was pretty intimidating. He looked like he could have just squashed me like a bug.
No, because he's 3 times as tall as you, I would imagine.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did he have to stoop to get through our front door?
I'm not sure if he had to stoop because I think I was unconscious for a few seconds when I first saw him.
I mean, even sitting down, he's taller than you.
I know.
But you haven't got hands that big.
Oh my God.
That's like an Ewok hand, right? Yeah.